few days ago, I saw this post on Facebook that said, "To the consternation of global warming proponents, the late Ordovician period was also an ice age, while at the same time CO2 concentrations then were nearly 12 times higher than today, 4,400 parts per million. According to greenhouse theory, Earth should have been exceedingly hot. Instead, global temperatures were no warmer than today. Clearly, other factors besides atmospheric carbon influence Earth temperatures and global warming." I wondered how much truth there was to that statement, so I looked it up, like I do, especially because how would they know what the global temperatures were? Were they around there 400 million years ago with a thermometer? I don't think so. So the Ordovician period began 488 million years ago and lasted until 443 million years ago. Scientists have taken soil samples from that period, and they show that the carbon levels in the atmosphere were around 15 times current levels, about 5,600 parts per million, compared to today's 389 parts per million. So the meme had its numbers off by a bit, no big surprise there. The main question it raises still stands, though. You would think that so much carbon in the atmosphere would cause catastrophic global warming, right? If the whole world is heating up, how could glaciers form? Well, that's actually pretty easy to explain once you look at how the carbon level data was collected. The Ordovician period lasted 45 million years and include periods both of global warming and global cooling. The statistics I referenced earlier about the carbon levels were from a study that measured carbon levels at 10 million year intervals, so 4 times over the Ordovician period. It's great at showing trends over hundreds of millions of years, but it's not great at indicating carbon levels during a 500,000 year long ice age that happened during the end of the Ordovician period between measurements. So every 10 million years, in that gap between measurements, that was when the ice age happened. They didn't actually measure the carbon levels in that study that they get those numbers from. There has been a further study that looked at the carbon levels during the Ordovician period, and they showed that global volcanic activity increased and raised the carbon in the atmosphere. The increased carbon likely raised the global temperature, and I looked into this. They don't know what the actual temperature was. They're just going off of estimates because no one was going around 400 million years ago with a thermometer. So they're guessing it raised the global temperature. They do know that the sea ice melted and flooded the supercontinent Gondwana, which was a huge landmass at the South Pole, which consisted of most of today's continents before the tectonic plates shifted and moved them to where they are today. So Gondwana, once underwater, wasn't spewing volcanic ash into the air anymore because it's all underwater. The carbon levels in the atmosphere decreased, and then global cooling occurred, allowing glaciers to form. Not at the same time as the high carbon levels. There were other factors at play as well. The sun had an output of 4% less during the Ordovician period than it does today. I couldn't find much more information that I could comprehend about that, so feel free to look into that if you want to, but that's what I found, a statistic across multiple sources saying that the sun had an output of 4% less than it does now. So what that means is the Earth would not be heated as much by the sun as it is now, reducing the overall greenhouse effect. And the main landmass at the time, Gondwana, I think that's how it's said, was situated over the South Pole. So at the pole, where it's the coldest, then global cooling occurs, glaciers. Makes geographical sense. Also, during the Ordovician period, or Ordovician, I don't know. I'm not a geologist. I don't know these things. During that period, the first plant life and algae and planktons evolved, and these new life forms sucked carbon out of the atmosphere at a rate of 100 times faster than the Earth could do it on its own from the rocks reacting with the carbon in the atmosphere and recapturing the CO2. So the plants helped to shift the planet from the global warming to global cooling. More plants, less CO2, lower global temperature. Of course, over the millions of years. hundreds of thousands of years at least. So everything we know about the Ordovician period shows a strong link between atmospheric carbon and climate change, which is the exact opposite of what the meme floating around Facebook is claiming. Atmospheric carbon causes global warming. We know this. Stop trying to find weird explanations. It's like, oh, gotcha, there were glaciers. This is an established fact, okay? Global warming is caused by carbon in the atmosphere, which can then end up causing global cooling. Climate change, carbon, they're linked, okay? And here's just a fun fact that has nothing to do with carbon or climate change or anything that I learned while researching this video. Ordovician rocks have the distinction of being at the highest elevation on the planet, as they exist at the peak of Mount Everest. So that's something fun I learned. Sources that I used to research this video: Encyclopedia Britannica, skepticalscience.com, Wikipedia, NASA Earth Observatory, ucmp.berkeley.edu, American Association of Petroleum Geologists, summitpost.org, WebMD, ResearchGate.net, and Calgary Herald newspaper. If you found this video to be educational, please hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye!